Greetings folks, my name is Ronwise Gamgee and welcome to the D20 System Development Vlog. In this video, I want to talk about Grit, D20's hit point system. It's like hit points, but better. First off, what is Grit? According to the link on Psychology Today that I have in the description below, Grit is a construction that is said to summon both Grit is a construct that is said to summon both passion and perseverance in service of a long-term goal. If you're gritty, you attain success through endurance, perseverance, resilience, passion, hard work, and practice. In this aspect, I think there's already some overlap between this definition of grit and what hit points represent. It's the reason why, as you level up in D&D and Pathfinder, you gain more hit points. Your ability to persevere and to be resilient grows as you get better. Yes, your constitution score contributes to your hit point pool, but it's usually not as significant as your hit die. But you gain more hit points from your constitution bonus as you level. So are you adding more meat to yourself? If that's the case, then why not base your hit points on strength like in GURPS 4th edition? Yeah, that's the kind of mess that I wanted to avoid by changing hit points to grit. However, grit is more than just hit points. It's a resource that player characters and major NPCs can spend to help their characters succeed more often, as well as the fuel needed to activate powerful and highly useful gimmicks that your character may possess. So, how do you calculate your maximum grit pool in D20? So you start with a base of 10, and then you add the sum of the maximum value of all of your class dice. So let me clarify with an example. So you got this newly minted character named Generico, and he has a D2 in Folk at Arms and a D2 in Farmer. So the maximum value of a D2 is 2, and Generico has 2 classes at D2, which means he gets 4 grit from his classes incorporated into his maximum grit pool. You add that to the base of 10, and Generico has a max grit pool of 14. I decided to go with class dice as the main contributor to grit because I wanted to simulate how, as a result of putting in the time and the hard work to improve themselves, player characters become more and more resilient and are better able to deal with adversity and push through to succeed when others would fail. How they improve isn't relevant. They can increase their maximum grit pool by getting better with a combat-oriented class such as Folk at Arms, or they can raise their maximum grit pool by getting better with a labor-oriented class such as Farmer, for example. Seeing how grit is used for both survival and accomplishment, how do player characters recover spent grit? By default, characters have 3 rest periods each day that they can use to recover grit. After taking a 10-minute short rest, after taking an hour-long rest, and after taking a 10-hour-long rest. Once the 10-hour-long rest is used, characters refresh their 3 rest periods. So how much spent grit can a character recover after completing a rest period? So to find out, the player would roll all of their class dice and recover spent grit equal to the sum total of that roll. So for example, Tara has spent 8 grit and wants to take a 10-minute rest to recover her spent grit. Conditions around her permit her to rest. She has a D6 in Archer, a D6 Survivalist, and a D4 Sneaky type. And then from there she rolls a 2, a 3, and a 2, making the sum total roll a 7, meaning that she recovers 7 spent grit. In order for her to recover any more spent grit, she'll then have to take an hour-long rest. Now, if a character is suffering from starvation or dehydration, they're unable to recover spent grit through rest. So make sure you have those needs taken care of first. So how do you spend grit, you might ask? The first way to spend grit is to buy off any damage that you take while in a battle-ready state. A battle-ready state is when your body is in fight or flight mode and you're ready to react to any perceivable threat. underline that word perceivable, as this will become relevant shortly. So say you're fighting an undead warrior and they attack you and they beat your defense test by 3, inflicting 3 points of damage. You can buy off that damage by spending grit on a 1-for-1 basis. This is where grit differs from hit points. First, spending grit is voluntary, it's not automatic. And if you don't have enough grit to buy off all the damage taken, then you would incur a minus D4 injury affliction, or the current penalty from your injury affliction upgrades twice, meaning that the die size will increase in size twice. So from D4 to D8, for example. Furthermore, you'll have to make a toughness test to hopefully resist the extent of your injury, but that's something I'll talk about in the next video. If you're caught by surprise and are dealt damage, you were not considered battle ready against that surprise attack, and you were unable to spend grit to buy off the damage. Add the fact that ambushers get a bonus die to their surprise attacks, and you can see how even the mighty can fall to an unexpected backstab or throat slice. The second way to spend grit is to push yourself in order to get that needed boost on an action or attribute test. So for every 2 grit you spend, you can add 1 extra class die to your net action total, meaning after you've rolled your dice and the GM rolled their penalty dice. So if a character misses his attack test by 3 and he has a D4, well, if Generico misses his attack test by 3 and he has a D4 in Folk at Arms, he can spend 2 grit to add another D4. Now, just to be safe, Generico chooses to spend 4 grit and adds another 2d4 to his attack test, hoping that he doesn't roll double 1s. Now keep in mind that he would still spend the same amount regardless of what his Folk at Arms die would be. So you really increasing your class die really pays off dividends as you get better and better. And you also get more grit as you get better and better. But what if you didn't use a class die for your action test or attribute test? That's where spending grit becomes more expensive. So by spending 2 grit, you'd get a D2 bonus die. And then for each additional grit point you spend, you upgrade that bonus die once. So if you made an action test and had no applicable class die, but needed a D8 bonus die to help you out in a pinch, you'd spend 2 grit for the D2, plus 3 more to upgrade it to the D4, D6, and D8. So you spend a total of 5 grit to get a bonus D8 die. And the last way to spend grit, as mentioned before, is to activate powerful and highly useful gimmicks. I'll cover gimmicks in a future video. If you like or dislike anything you've seen in this video, please give it a like or a dislike and leave a comment. Subscribe if you want to support my channel, and if you really want to support my endeavors, head over to my Patreon and become an appreciated trooper. The link is in the description. Until then, folks, take care and play to find out what happens.